like kind of unenthusiastic.
I'm trying not to yell too loud. My family's upstairs.
Show them up, Chrissy.
Really?
Yeah.
I only live.
See, but you go so loud, the mic cuts off.
Oh, did it?
Exactly. That's the power.
Hey, guess what? The name of this show is Meet the 3 p.m. Dorito Mobilo, which I think might be its new name. Can we use that as a name?
Yeah.
It's kind of
no.
long.
I literally
Dorito
called it the
Mobilo.
Z.
The Z. That's what
I called it the Z.
So go over to the Z.
Chris
Damn
is
it,
like,
it's
right,
not
and
a
Chris is
Z.
like, it's not a Z, and I was like, I know. Like,
What about just calling it
duh.
black? What about calling it black brap? Brap.
Oh, it'll
Yeah,
find
it's
a
too
name.
close. Like it's just too close. It'll
Too
sort
on the
itself
nose.
out.
All right.
It'll
It's
figure
like
it
when
out.
when you get a new pet. It'll tell you its
It'll
name.
tell
You
you
just
its
need to
name,
spend
yeah.
some time with it.
Yeah, we'll get there.
It can't be the Mazda too. Like it has to be.
Right.
Yeah,
We already
too
have
many
one of those.
Mazdas.
It's like
It
having
could be
a
like
Chris
a-
on this
yeah.
show.
Yeah. Mazda. Point at the Cressida. Not a Mazda.
Not
All right.
Mazda.
For those who don't know, it is a second generation Mazda RX-7. Now, an RX-7, like the RX-3s, the RX-4s, even some of their pickup trucks in the 70s, do not use a traditional four-stroke piston engine. These are powered by a rotary engine. And if you know what a rotary is, we're sorry to bother you with this one. But it is invented by Felix Wankel. Yes, that's his real name. He was a German engineer, so you get to even kind of say it was a German accent. I am Felix Wankel. It is a type of internal combustion engine that uses an eccentric rotary designed to convert pressure into rotating motion. Now, the triangle inside basically an oblong egg-shaped chamber goes around, hence the phrase magical spinny triangle, or Doritos, if you were. So we do have a picture for those on the interwebs.
No, I was just about
So
to
that's
screen
what
share
that's the magical Dorito.
Yeah,
And
if
go.
you don't know how this works, there's a lot of GIFs out there that will show like the spin and the compression and the combustion and all that. Check
Funny
that
you
out.
should mention that, because before the show started, I made it a point to have one of those brought up, and we can share that right
Ooh.
now.
Ooh.
Aren't you fancy?
Mhm. So there you have it.
We don't see it yet. Oh, there it
Oh,
is.
we don't-
There you go.
What? We need to say what's going on. This
Okay,
is
so
bad
we are
podcasting.
looking at a GIF, and you can see the spinny Dorito inside the oblong chamber.
It's a
And
cool ranch Dorito. Just saying.
It is. It's kind of turquoisey. And you can see the center little B shape there. That is the crankshaft. And you can see the A shape there. That is the rotor. And you can see at the top, air comes in, gets compressed, gets sparked, exhausts.
Propose we call the car Nacho.
Nacho car.
Just Nacho. Because it's quick, it's easy, it's catchy.
Dorito Machino.
That's not
Nacho.
bad. That's
That was a
not
cool-
just not bad.
That was a cool graphic. Thank you.
Yes. So the thing about rotaries is they are silky smooth. They can rev to the moon. There was stories of the old RX2s back in the day launching at 12,000 RPMs and not shifting to 24,000 RPMs. They also produce no torque, and they use a lot of fuel. They are notoriously loud, especially in Lemons applications, because they generate a lot of heat, and those tend to eat the mufflers. And most RX-7 enthusiasts have a predisposition to just getting rid of the mufflers whatsoever. At Sonoma, we had to institute a ban on running rotaries in the penalty box.
Well, they're also the way to hop them up. Street porting and bridge porting makes them just incredibly loud.
And
We don't
hot.
have it. And hot. Yeah.
This car
Anyway,
does not have any of those things,
any of
as far
those
as we
things.
know.
We don't know. I should mention that we bought this SCCA Racer off of RacingJunk.com, and this weekend we all got together at Chris and Chrissy's house, and we were going to get everything done that we need to get done as a group, and basically leave Jeff with a list that he could handle. Which, as you can see by my deft use of my own trailer, getting as much done as possible on the weekend was obviously a focus.
Now,
So,
what do you
yeah,
think? Were we successful in that regard?
I think so. I think the list is very, very attainable in the couple of weekends we have left.
Excellent.
But we focus mostly on the safety stuff, I think, right?
Yeah, and this episode could also be called "How to Unf the Race Car You Just Bought,"
That's
because
a great way
it's
to put it.
pretty much always going to be that way. There's always going to be stuff you have to unf. So now how do you do it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, let's go through the list. Maybe things that we found upon inspection that needed said action.
Sure.
Like, what was the butcher bill we were coming into this one?
We started with the cage. Should we do the whole list and then we'll go back and talk to him, or talk about each one?
Let's just kind of lay the lay of the land. Like, what are
Okay.
we coming into this weekend having to deal
We knew
with?
walking in that the cage had some design flaws. We had also felt around and we found some unfinished welds. The fuel lines, for some reason, were routed through the cabin, which is allowed in SCCA, but not in Lemons, so we knew we had to move those. It had a hella floppy Kirky seat that we knew not only had no adjustment on it, and we have humans of different size who share a race car, so that doesn't work. And probably wouldn't pass tech anyway, right? I mean,
The headrest, it has one of those Kirkies that only has one oval slot for the belts, and you can grab the headrest and just can move it around.
yeah.
It doesn't really
So
give any
I think
actual
we
impact
walked-
protection.
Yeah, I think we walked in knowing we needed to do all that, and then knowing that we had to just assess it. So we have to check every nut and bolt. We have to flush we say it all the time, everybody, never bring a car to the track that you have not immediately flushed all of the brake fluid. But we didn't even know like how much brakes it had in it, or whether it was aligned, or any of those things. So we had already removed the fire system because it had a halon fire system that was way out of date. And then I think that's about it that we knew going in.
Yeah.
Metal, go ahead. Oh, we can't hear you.
You're very quiet, Mental. Like,
Sorry, I was and if I'm off base on this one, and you didn't buy this from some sketchy guy that had a court date and you needed the cash. This person
not at
had
all.
camping. So this is not someone who is misleading you. This is just rules evolve and different series have different rules. And then, people, when they have to quit racing, they don't accept it for a couple of years. The car sits for a while before they get rid of it. So you're buying a good, well-prepared race car with a stack of trophies and wins, and everything Jeff just said, you still need to do.
yeah, this car had a long-standing SCCA logbook, like
Mhm.
long time.
I
Well,
also
and-
have, if I can, go
go
ahead. I can share real quick the to-do list to jog your memory in case there was anything, because I took a picture and then I posted something that everybody turned
I was
appropriate
going to say,
onto
no
the
one can
internet.
read my writing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well done,
Yep.
Chrissy. All right. Is that, I presume that was the start, hopefully not the end.
That was the start.
That
Oh,
was the
okay.
start, yeah.
Yeah. Things got removed, things got added. There was then an after list too. So
So I
All right.
think the two major heavy welding projects were fixing the cage and building the seat with the adjusters and everything.
Yeah,
So that's
let's
probably the
talk
best
about-
place to start.
let's go to the cage first.
So down bars.
You started the cage. Yeah. What exactly was wrong with
Yeah,
this
that's what I was
cage?
gonna get to. So
Mhm.
we knew automatically the two things that we knew were wrong with the cage were the down bars were in the wrong position. So this is the back stays. Everybody knows main hoop goes over the driver's head, and it has two bars that go back to the back of the car. They were mounted on a transverse piece of tube, so they didn't have their own footing, which
They're
is
on the strut brace, basically.
on the strut brace, yes, which is not legal by Lemons standards. And they weren't. Did they hit behind the wheel wells? They were in like the middle of the wheel
No.
wells.
They were, the
So-
distance was fine, but they were on the strut brace, which why anyone would put a load bearing member on a different member that is welded only in shear. Like, I don't see why anyone thinks that's a good idea.
Yeah, it's
So-
not a great design. So we moved
happens
them
all the
to
time.
independent feet. So we had to cut off the bars. It also had a petty bar. For those of you who don't know what that is, that's from like the middle of the main hoop. So like above in the center of the car to like the
But like
floor.
next to the driver's shoulder is where this one was.
Yeah,
It
next
wasn't
to
even on
driver's
the
shoulder.
top. Like, it wasn't up here by the head. It was by the shoulder, like off the harness bar diagonal bar component. That's where
Was
the
it? I
petty
thought it
bar
was off
came
the
from.
head
Yeah.
bar.
Nope.
I
Go
guess
look at
you're right,
the
'cause
pointy
now-
bit that's still
Yeah,
there.
you're right. Exactly. It was off the harness
You
bar.
cut it off.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's-
and then I cut myself all weekend on it
Yeah.
later. So, yeah, so it came off the harness bar and went to the footwell of the passenger seat, which is unacceptable because we have things to put in the passenger seat, including hopefully someday a passenger. So that got
Maybe.
cut out. Basically, I climbed in the hatchback with the cutoff wheel, the death wheel, and
And a
showered in
Sawzall.
sparks for like
For like
an
hours.
hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh,
It
two,
was
I
really
think.
bad.
I think it
Yeah.
took two. This is when I was doing stuff on the Civic because no one else could be in the Z with, sorry, the RX with Jeff
See,
because
the Z.
the whole car was full of sparks because Jeff is just cutting everything. So now this I'm mounting the battery in the Civic and running the cables, kind of waiting for Jeff to be done with that. Yeah.
So we rebuilt the down
Great
bars.
pictures of that too, of Jeff cutting things sitting in the back seat of the
Like,
RX with
hi-
the non-existent back seat,
hiding under a pizza box.
giving himself a spark shower.
It was
For a
terrible.
long time.
Yeah. Yeah. I do we want to say anything else about that? I mean, we remade 2 backstays. We got rid of the petty bar.
But we were able to use a bunch of the bars when we needed to add them back. We used at least one of the bars and still had leftovers. So
We still have the petty bar.
yeah,
So
the roll cage we took out, we were able to reuse, which is great.
and then we also know that we had a non 360 degree weld at the top of the main hoop to down bar, front
driver's
down
side.
bar, right,
Driver's
Chris?
side.
Front down bar is what it was.
Yeah, right above the driver's head.
So we had to cut a hole in the roof and correct that welding. Go ahead, Mental.
And that's something you actually see a lot coming from other series where they don't have a Dale or a Pagel. Is if they can't see it, they don't weld at 360. And we've had this argument in the tech inspections. Well, I've been running it that way with years with such and such. Then you are welcome to go back and rejoin them. But it needs, so if you don't see a plinth box or where they've cut the flaps open on the roof of the car, if you're buying a race car, that's should immediately call your attention to that.
Just stick your finger up there and see what you feel.
Yeah, I mean that's really
Yeah.
the key.
Which is really, it's a good motto for life.
Mhm.
I'm trying to find because I think we had that picture, right?
Of what?
The hole, the non 360
Yeah.
weld.
Should be in there.
I'm looking for it.
Okay. Bad
Yeah.
pod.
Well, at the very
bad-
least, I'm going to
Alrighty,
share a
keep going.
picture of Jeff giving himself a spark shower because it's too good.
Spark shower.
Oh, look at that. just wearing a pizza box.
Mhm.
Yep,
And,
sitting in the back seat. Yep,
And luckily
that's great.
put himself outside. So not luckily, intelligently,
Yep.
you guys kicked him outside. So you don't have to deal with
Oh, yeah.
37 shards every time you walk into the
We
garage.
did that
barefoot.
anyway, but we do
I
not
was-
we do not walk in our garage barefoot ever.
No.
Ever,
Yeah.
ever.
It is
I-
dangerous.
Nope.
I still do it about twice a year. I got to pull a decent sized
Nope.
chunk of
Mm-mm.
metal or
Yeah,
wire
then
out of my
you're-
foot.
You're dumb.
Yeah.
Don't
Just
do
a
that.
redneck, and I just don't like shoes.
I have
I-
carpet in my garage because
I
it never
like-
gets cars. So, yeah, so that was the cage. I think that was pretty basic. I mean, it was we pulled the we put in a what do we call that thing? What's the header bar
Yeah,
thing?
that was the last thing we did. A bar that goes between the main hoop and the forward header bar with some bends in it to try to get a little more head clearance. Because
Mhm.
once we got the passenger seat in, as low as it could possibly be, not passenger seat, driver's seat in
Driver's
the new
seat,
one,
yeah.
as low as it could possibly be, we realized some of our taller members needed a little more clearance. So by putting the bar in the middle, if you then were to drape an imaginary sheet over the cage, that gets you a considerable amount more room having that extra bar there. So
Safer
fortunately,
for
we-
taller drivers.
fortunately we were able to find 2 bars in the garage already bent. And the first one what was almost perfect got cut too short because
How many
anytime
times did you
that we all
warn?
said this is going to be too short, this is going to get cut too short, and
It's
we
like it's
crept
way
up on
too
it,
long.
and then it was way too short because every time we do these kind of bars with the double bends like that from the inside, they're always too short. Anyway, found another one, did that one worked fine.
Yeah.
So
Since you brought it up, oh sorry, Bethel, you got a question?
I'll
Go
say
ahead.
with regards to this cage, because all 3 of you have built, I think we counted on on a show years ago. I want to say you've built 8 cages from
It's like
scratch.
1,000.
12.
Okay. And then
Yeah.
you've fixed easily that many. So in the realm of fixing cages, scale of, 0 to 10, how bad was this one?
Oh, this wasn't bad.
It's
It's
bad.
no, and it's an okay cage. It doesn't have the level of detail that like of fitment that I really would have liked. But the wells where they are done are good quality everywhere. Like the fitment of all the tubing is very good.
The
It just
plates, the spreader plates are all great.
and they're all 360 welded, except for we found like a 1 inch gap on one that we filled in.
Mhm.
So like this is
I-
for going from the example of some that just this has to get cut out, no other options, to fixable. I mean, this is like better than what's in the Cressida, for example.
And by the
but
way, these are all
much-
safe, but better design gets you more room
yeah.
and gets you more things. One thing that I love about this cage is what they did for the foot protection. So they not only like front tubes down, but they have some extended tubes in front of the driver and the passenger feet to add protection from the dash bar down. Dash bar forward, I should say. So
Mhm. And the driver's doors bars go all the way to the door
great.
to the
Driver's
Yeah.
door
door
shell.
was
Like
great.
there's lots of room in the door. Yeah.
Except
Yeah.
you said you were concerned about the driver footwell. It's a little
The
small.
footwell's a little tight because by the time your knee, when you come up, it hits the steering wheel and the seat. And then we had some aftermarket pedal covers on the pedals, and I couldn't really get my foot off of the clutch very well. So we took the pedal cover off.
And
So
part of
there's
that is
room
because
enough.
there's some extra bars down there.
Yeah.
But it's also, this cage was easy because we could take the trunk lid off. So we had open air space rather than trying to stuff yourself in the back there. So that was
Yeah, I
helpful.
didn't
was
have
still
to stuff myself at all.
Mhm.
Yeah. It
That's a
definitely
lot.
wasn't climbing through the monkey bars to do some of those welds.
Yeah.
Right. So that was kind
Which,
of nice.
when those cars were new, that was a perfectly acceptable travel option when you had more than one person that wanted to go someplace with you. I've
Chris
spent
knows.
I've spent
Oh, now we realize.
many a time riding in the hatch of RX-7s and CRXs and 240Zs and the like.
MGB GTs also acceptable for them.
C4 Corvettes. Let me tell you this one. The cage design was designed to an SCCA, sprint kind of car. So it was only for one person. And it was only for one person all the time. So not having seat sliders or having that petty bar through the passenger compartment or not doing a straight ladder in the passenger side are things we never would have done, but totally make sense for what they were building for.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yep.
Yeah. You mentioned the seat. Why don't you do the seat next?
So the seat was a Kirky that was bolted with 2 bolts to the floor and then 2 bolts to a back brace.
Very weird bolting
Yeah.
setup.
It had quite a heavy layback to it and no headrest support at all. And plus Kirky's, like that style Kirky doesn't usually pass tech because of the lack of head support. And also just, we don't want one because they're not comfortable. So, there are Kirkys that are quite comfortable and well designed and have good things. This was not one of them at all.
It was the single aluminum.
It's like a drag race seat,
Kirky,
practically.
like a drag racer seat.
And the
exactly.
tiny, very thin padding topper on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that had to come out because we need sliders. We've got an OMP HTER 400 seat that we run in everything that fits all of our drivers. We all think it's comfortable. It's been holding up well. It's FIA rated. It's got halo head protection, but not too big, just a little bit, because when it gets too big, then you have harder time. Some of us have a hard time getting out of the car. So it's kind of like it's the Goldilocks seat that we have found for us. So combined with our usual, standard side mount seat brackets and Jeep TJ sliders, and then Jeff got a planted seat mount base for this car. That's what we had going into this. Well, the planted seat mount base didn't quite work as it was because the previous builders had cut out the rear seat mounts. Those were gone. When they cut it out, I think they used an electric beaver to cut out
Omar's electric beaver,
right? To cut out the ones on the tunnel side, and then they just
Let it
pop riveted
rust.
a piece of a piece of steel over it, but not fitted at all, just kind of over it. It was
Let's just
terrible.
close
So
it so the muskrats can't get in and out.
yeah. So once I found that, I said, all right, well, there's where I got to start. So took the riveted piece off, cut out a square of the beaver eaten part of it, and then had to then make a replacement panel to weld in and seam seal and whatnot, just so that that wasn't exceptionally weak. Also, the repair panel that they put over it made it so I couldn't get the seat bracket all the way over to the tunnel to trying to get move the seat as far to the inboard as you can to give driver head clearance. So made that, welded that all back together, and then started working on the seat bracket. Took the planet seat bracket. The front mounts were okay. Had to bend the tabs down a little bit to change the angle, so that because we want this to angle down from front to back, because that helps with height for shorter drivers and for taller ones. And then at the back, had to cut the mounts off of that they had because we weren't mounting there anyway. So anyway, got it so that the back of the seat bracket is touching the floor, welded to some big plates that have holes drilled through them, and then sandwich another big piece of metal on the other side of the floor on the bottom of that. So it ends up being 4 bolts at the back of the seat sandwiched into big mounting plates holding the back of the seat to the floor. So I think that's pretty sturdy. And then the front 2 go into the OEM seat mount holes. So that's not going anywhere. Got the sliders bolted to that, and then welded on some brackets to hold the sliders to the side mount seat brackets, so that it's not just a piece of flat stock. It's got some square tubing there at the side too to help keep it from bending in a heavy load, and get the seat in. So the seat is as low as it can possibly be while having a slider in it. So it's maybe an inch and a half at most off of the floor by the time you get the slider in the bracket.
And as always, our design makes sure that it lifts as it moves forward. So that way the shorter drivers who will be pulling the seat up also get some height. And the taller drivers get down below the cage.
Which is causes extra work, but we want the seat bracket to be right. That's important to
It's
be
actually
safe.
a great seat bracket. I fabulous job.
You worked on it most of Saturday, I feel.
Yeah.
So
Well, because I had to fix the trans tunnel, and I had to things like that weren't right. So
yep.
But that's the time to do it, not
Yep.
later.
Yeah.
So yeah, seat in. That I have to remove mount the sub belt things. So theirs were too far forward, so that they would have been either directly down or slightly forward for some of our drivers. So they had to move those back so that they had the correct angle to them.
There you go.
Again, with a big old plate under the floor, spread that load.
I'm going to quickly go through the fuel lines. So we know the fuel lines. So this has a cell in it. It had a 22-gallon cell or whatever. It's in an aluminum box. The box is very well built, I think, well designed. We tend to just weld a box together. It's got Zeus screws and all that other stuff in it.
It's really nice, actually.
Yeah. I might have made it out of something a little thicker. I don't know. It seems like, because we like to throw things on top of it, when we're packing.
You do.
Of course. Yes. Why have a hatchback if you can't store things in it? Anyway.
Empty fuel jugs will still fit.
That's true, yeah. So anyway, these AN braided lines went from the quite complicated fuel pump setup. So it had a low flow pump into a swirl pot, to then the high flow pump would pump it to the front of the motor, the front of the car where it has the motor. And that all went through just went right out of the box and down the passenger floor and through the firewall. So we had to redo all of that, which took some planning to make sure the fuel lines are under the car and protected and away from the heat. Not everything got too far away from the heat, so there's some heat shielding that I'll still have to do. But then return them all the way back to the car. Had to like figure out, how does the system work? Like, what's up with the 2 pumps? The pumps are probably like almost as loud as the car itself. I think those are like the loudest damn pumps on the planet.
Well, they're hard mounted, which doesn't help. There's no
we need to
vibration isolation on those.
Yeah, we need to get like some hockey puck mounts or something on there to try and mounted in there. And Mental, I know you love this part. So while we were taking things apart, Jim like dropped a fuel screw in like behind the box and like between the tail lights and the fuel box. And we're looking, I like started pulling some of the fuel box right. I'm like, what the hell is down there? And I'm like shining flashlights. I'm like, there's like something zip tied to the floor. We
It's
found
like where the spare tire would
where
go.
the spare tire
right?
would be. We found 40-pound lead weight vest.
Of
They
course
had
I
a,
did.
they had a weight minimum for his class.
Had a weight minimum for his class.
Of course I did lots of squats with it on.
And a couple burpees. Yeah.
I did a couple
Ah,
burpees and I got so tired after that. I was like, nope, out. I'm out.
You doing a burpee with a weight vest just made me tired. I have to go take a nap now.
Yeah.
I only did like 5.
I tried to upload them to
I
the
only did
drive for the
5.
show, and they're still uplooding.
Ah,
Sorry.
no
I mean, it
one
looks
is
like
as fit as Chrissy.
It's
So
fine.
I got some really good ones of Chris doing curls. His like veins are
And he
popping
had
out.
he had to put it on me because it was too heavy to put on myself.
So we save the weight vest. So when you come to Jersey, Mental, you can put it on and do some
As
push-ups
we do
yourself.
to
Yeah.
save all of the things we find out of our race cars.
Jeff wants us to be the new black flag penalty on the team. If you get a flag, you have to wear that
Just
for
to
the,
do burpees.
for the evening.
That's kind of
Oh,
That is more of a motivator than the marital aid, because
and do burpees. What?
having at various points have to walk around with plate steel on a vest. Yeah, that wears you. That wears you down. Ah,
Oh,
yeah.
one thing I forgot, the cage we were talking about. We didn't talk about how do you fix when one of your 360 welds is not done? How do you get to that? Well, you get a 2-inch hole saw. You line it up as best you can figure through the spot in the roof with the least double walled areas, and you cut a big hole in the roof. And then you stick the welder down there.
wasn't that big of a hole.
And with
No.
one eye, you weld that thing shut the best you can get to it, and then you do it again, and then you do it again, just to be sure, just so that no one ever reaches their finger up there and says, no, there's no weld up there. There's definitely weld up there.
Yeah.
And then Chrissy made a nice little aluminum square to go over that hole
With
4 little
rivets?
rivets.
Yep.
And then
And then more burpees.
No, I was doing my
no, these are
squats.
squats. You did do burpees, but
I'm tired.
one more deep one.
No, then it makes it look like I'm pulling or something. I didn't know that was on video.
You didn't know I was video you?
I did
I'm
not
like,
know.
do it again.
It was difficult.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
All right.
Anyway, what
What
else
else
did
did
we
we
do?
find? We checked fitment of the big wheels, because this thing came with 15 by 7-inch wheels with 10-year-old R compound hand cooks. Obviously, can't run those. What do we have? Well, we've got the wheels from the Z, which are exactly the same size and offset that get run on Tally. So we said, well, these will work. We just got to figure out how much spacer to put in them. So a lot of test fitting spacers and stacking those on top of them. Fortunately, the car already has nice aftermarket bullnose lug studs, so that's good.
Yeah,
so we
ARP
figured that out.
style. If
Yep.
they're ARPs or not, we don't know, but
We'll find out when we have to replace them.
yeah.
There's plenty of meat on the brakes. We think they're Hawk Blues, which means it's going to chew through rotors, but the guy gave us a bunch of rotors, so that's good. Brake fluid flush, which is a darn good thing we did, because does anyone remember what year they stopped selling ATE Super Blue? Does anybody have any clue?
I actually do. God, I want to say it was 2000. I want to say 9, but I feel like it was 11.
Okay, that's what the car had in it. Had Super Blue.
And it was
Yes.
blue as blue too. It
Oh,
was
yeah.
very blue.
So
dark
it was
blue.
good blue, just
just
yeah.
old.
old. And the reason
Yeah.
they did that is that was the trick, is you would alternate between the blue and gold, and that way you knew when your system was completely flushed.
Right, exactly.
And it actually worked. We did it this weekend, and halfway through, Chris was like, "Hey, you know what? That was actually cool.
But,
Clear now.
That's pretty good. I can tell all of a sudden the blue is out."
but legislators who are all lawyers and
damn.
know nothing about cars
The
decided,
hell?
but but it
Screw
doesn't
you,
look
Washington.
like brake fluid. Someone might make a mistake.
Yeah.
They think it's coolant, or they drink it because
Washer-
they think
washer
it's
fluid.
Kool-Aid.
Washer fluid
Tastes like blue.
Exactly.
Tastes like
Tastes
blue. We definitely
Yeah.
had some blue this
Definitely had some
weekend.
of that.
It wasn't oil. It
Ah.
wasn't. It wasn't.
Yep.
Maybe
brake fluid,
that's
though.
why we screwed up everything while I was packing. You gave me a Slurpee with like 80% alcohol.
That was at 2
Or
o'clock.
20% brake fluid.
I also
Yeah.
didn't. I didn't make it. I just bought it.
So yeah, got the super blue out and put in Motul RBF 600. Checked the brakes; they look good. Gave it a car a once over. I only found 2 loose bolts, not tight bolts in the rear suspension. They weren't loose, but they were not tight. And then I paint penned all the rear suspension to make sure we'll see nothing getting loose there.
Well, I found like 4 when I was under there doing the other stuff. So
good.
add that to the list because I found the 3 that were missing in the exhaust.
Mm-hmm.
And then I found 2 that were loose in the rear differential suspension area.
Yeah, so by the time I got there, you'd already done a lot of them. Good.
Yeah.
That makes sense then.
And
let's see.
the thing is covered in mud because they rally crossed it. So we didn't get a
there's
chance to clean it,
chunks
but it's like
of dirt under it.
Yeah, grassy dirt. Like
Awesome.
Then we did. We found a variety of field expedient repairs that had been done. Like someone decided that they needed taillights sometimes, so they just ran 2 wires from a switch panel at next to the driver's seat, very loosely throughout the car to get to the taillights to do that. Just like there's
had
one
like
P clip holding them together.
A reel of that stuff from Pep Boys, like
Yeah,
just reel out 6 feet of this wire, it'll be fine.
yeah. So that's unfortunate that it was done so poorly.
But we'll
It
fix
was,
all those.
it's probably exactly like you said there. Like they show it, go, "Hey, dude, you got any brake lights?" When did that
That's the
become a
taillights, yeah.
requirement? Or when did that become a requirement? It was in the FCRs like a month ago. We're not going to let you race. Ah, crap! Where's my speakers for my truck? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we did a lot of what does that switch do? How does that
Several
work?
do nothing. There's the 2 on the forward panel where the gauges are, like where the radio used to be.
One says nitrous.
Yeah. Neither of them do anything.
They are
don't
the
do anything.
goggles. They are the
Yep,
goggles.
There's 2 lights there's only where the stock gauge cluster was. There's a tack. And there's 2 lights, and we don't know what they do. One of them comes on when the ignition comes on.
Also, there is
no
a
idea.
sticker that says "Don't put baby in the box."
Yes.
There is a baby. Yep, that's there.
Yep.
Why?
It's a
I don't know.
graphical sticker that says that. It doesn't actually have any
Yes.
words.
Correct.
Yep.
Chrissy pulled off the numbers and the some of the names and pulled all the things, so getting it ready for the theming. But I think what we have left.
Well, we did an alignment too. That was
we
also
did
last
alignment.
thing.
You're
We
right,
had it on
Ooh.
the stands, so we did the alignment. It was off. It was like 3/16 an inch towed in the rear, and the camber was a degree off left to right in the front, and the front was a 1/4 inch or a little more than a 1/4 inch towed out. So again, these are maybe fine in sprint racing, but they're going to chew up some tires.
Don't
if we go
forget
endurance
the
racing that way.
thrust was terrible.
Oh yeah,
because
thrust angle is way off.
We think they had aligned it with the steering wheel not straight.
Or
It was one
one.
position off of the detachable wheel. So one tie rod was entirely bottomed out. So
Yep.
we had to then move it 1/6 over, and then it worked out much
or
better.
yeah, something happened when they were rally crossing it. They bent something.
Yeah,
Sent
it really,
sent it
once
a
we-
little too much.
Once we put it back to 1/6 over, it lined up much better. So
I put in the cool box mount,
You're
Mhm.
correct. Yep.
which took a little while because the floor's uneven and it's on the little
Mhm.
base
Cri-
wood.
And Chrissy did all of the fish mouthing, including some of the janky-ish. Yes.
Some
And
cleaning.
a lot of metal cutting and
Mhm.
yeah.
Prepping.
So here's what I think we have left. These are just the totally doable list, but it includes the fire system. We took one out. We never put one back in. By the way, Chrissy, you want to talk about the Halon fire system?
No, you do. I googled
So we had-
it because
We had a really old Halon bottle, and I said, Chrissy, you're a safety professional. it says we can just pop this thing in the front yard. She's like, nope, not
Nope.
doing it.
Nope.
Not doing it.
Halon
Not
has been
doing it.
banned for use in the United States.
Yeah, well,
I mean, sure.
sure. I
That's
guess
why
the
we wanted
United
to get
States
rid of it.
doesn't include the back of my trailer because it slipped out of a box and not launched itself, but
This is after we talked about it.
decided
Do not clean it with water, and bear in mind if you haven't already cleaned it, that the way halon works is it molecularly displaces oxygen so that
Oh.
fire has no fuel.
I
Well,
walked into it.
It's on the
grabbed it.
sidewalk outside of my house now after
Okay.
it fell out of Jeff's trailer, and it's
Oh.
got
I
rain
walked
tonight.
in-
When
into
the
the
door,
trailer.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, I
got
walked
it.
in the trailer, picked it up, and threw it under a bush.
All
I said,
Okay.
"Hey, Chrissy, it's done now."
Yeah.
Good plan.
I know all of this because would you like to guess what illegal substance was the primary firefighting equipment on my aircraft?
There you go.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So anyway, I did do the wheels. We got to put in the radios. We have some wire cleaning, painting, numbers, theming.
Numbers are
I mean,
hard, man. Do not
Yeah,
underestimate
we
that.
got all that kind of stuff to do, but that is
Yep.
totally
Paint-
doable.
Paint the cage where we put
Yeah,
new
where we
stuff
put all-
in.
yeah, there's a lot
Put
of
the
new
mirror
metal.
back on. Put padding on the cage.
Yep.
Yeah. Reassemble the. We could put the cool shirt. Put
you-
the cool
you-
shirt pump and wiring in.
Yeah,
You got a month.
Figure out why
man.
the wipers don't work. Wipers
the
don't work at
wipers
all.
are going to be a big one. We're going to figure that out.
Get
Yep.
on it.
Yeah.
So we got a couple weekends. I'm good.
All right.
All
Yeah,
doable.
but our final alignment specs, I got them here. Rear camber is 2.2 on one side, 2.1 on the other. Front is 2.6 on one side, 2.7 on the other. Front toe 1/16th out, rear toe 1/16th in. I think that's a good baseline to start with on the conservative side, but we'll see how it goes.
So as we're wrapping this up, I'm still hearing from all three of you very upbeat, enjoyable, not just from the fun of, oh, new car, let's play around with it kind of a deal, but it feels like this was a good purchase.
Yeah, without a doubt.
I think so. I think
That's
of what is generally available on the market, this is the right mix of good and cheap and janky enough and a good platform and
But a good
Yeah.
a good start, right?
A
Yeah,
good
we said a
start.
good platform because it had enough stuff done that we can race it this year. It's not a complete new build. So
like
I
it's
think
good
that'd be helpful.
suspension on it. It's got the good differential. It's got the right brakes. It's already had a nice splitter on it. Had a nice splitter on it.
The splitter's
Yeah.
still there. It's just not connected as well as it was.
Yep. Things like that. It's a fine place to start, and it's not like we're gonna have to find some problems that I'm sure will creep up, but
Mhm.
it's good. And when eventually the spinning triangles decide they're no longer willing to play, we've got a plan B too. So
And I think it's just janky enough that we're not going to be upset to rip it apart. Like it had lived its life as an SCCA racer, and it didn't have. We're not taking a very like when they crashed Betty, or put Betty into a Lemons field. It was always like, oh, this car's way nice for this field.
no one's gonna say that about this one.
No one's going to
Nope.
say that about this. This is a battle scorn vehicle that
Yeah.
it's going to the right place. And when we rip out the magic spinning triangles, no one is going to cry. It doesn't have any hot bridge ported, street ported.
No, it's
you
just
know.
a stock S5 motor, from what we understand.
Which is probably why it's still running.
Not really.
Okay.
So anyway, what about predictions? What do we think it's going to be like, Chris?
I think it
Or
will
Chrissy,
run
obviously.
on and off for about 3/4 of the weekend. That's my guess.
Oh, only the weekend?
I think we're going to have some teething problems. I think we are
Yeah.
going to find some stuff.
Is it
Yeah.
going to be dead at the end of the weekend?
No, I think there are going to be some things that are going to go wrong. We are going to fix them, and that's going to go back out
Mm-hmm.
a few times.
I've owned 4 RX-7s. Yes.
Why are we just hearing this now?
And I don't know how they'll do it, but I think one of the challenges that the previous owner didn't have to deal with it being a sprint car that we are, and by we I mean you, will have to deal with is they do generate a lot of heat. And I think it's going to eat its exhaust.
It's got a big radiator It's got the stock oil cooler, which is big.
Yeah.
And the exhaust has been upgraded to a 3-inch. It's a racing beat header
Oh,
into
okay.
a 3-inch that
Excellent.
has a
Well-wrapped racing beat header.
yeah.
Okay.
It's got a resonator kind of in the middle, and then a Borla exhaust at the end.
Okay.
So
And
not
just-
not
it
a
just
janky one.
Yeah, the exhaust gas temperatures that come out of rotaries will
Yeah.
they rapidly
Surface of the
deteriorate.
sun.
Yeah, those
Yeah.
things.
Which is
But-
why getting the fuel lines covered that go near it are very important.
That's probably one of the reasons they ran it through the cockpit. This is way safer.
Yeah, except where it came actually through the firewall, it got real close to the header.
It wasn't that far away.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Ah.
think it's gonna run and it's gonna be fun and it's gonna eat so much damn gas because
Yes.
it's probably pretty light. If we had to pull a 40-pound weight vest for them to get to the minimum, which we know because it's on the side of the car, is like
2680.
2680.
That's with
So
the driver.
If it's okay.
Was he a
it's-
big fella, a normal sized fella?
No, normal size fella, yeah.
All right.
Well, we don't know because the guy we were buying it from wasn't
So
the guy.
let's assume he was 200 pounds max. So now we're at 2480. We pulled 40 pounds out of it. So 2,400 pounds. That's pretty decent. Probably
is.
170 horsepower. This will be okay.
And that's
You
with
can
the
put
full fuel cell too. So yeah.
You could put the 40 back in.
Well, we don't know how much they ran in
Yeah, I know.
in the cell. We are
No.
obviously going to run all
It's
of it. so-
It's a 22-gallon cell, fortunately. So
Yeah.
let's see. But we don't know what kind of pickup it has in it. Like it's got the swirl pot. It's got the holly blue, old school holly blue low pressure pump. But it might just still have the standard, circle track duck foot pickup in the bottom. Then who knows what that's going to do.
Nice.
We'll see. We'll see.
right.
And we know there's going to be development, but I think it's going to be fun.
Oh,
I
they
think-
they are so much fun.
I think we might have magic spinning triangles longer than we expect. 2-3 races,
Cool.
not 2-3 minutes. Or 2-3 laps.
Hey, and if you're coming to New Jersey, just randomly popped up in my YouTube while I was doing some of the work the other day was Chrissy and I at Thompson back when I had short hair, and we were fixing a dent in the Civic again for like the 9th time. We had the
Mhm, that
porta
came up
power
a lot,
out. Chrissy, you had gotten hit while being a passenger while Chris was driving
Oh,
around.
that's right. Yep. Yep.
And it was just stop hitting the Civic.
It was right when you exited
Don't-
the pits, right?
Don't
No,
hit
we
the
were
new-
going down the street at 100.
at a good
Oh,
clip.
they were
yes.
they were
someone-
coming into
someone
the
went right into the
Look,
side of us.
I get it. It's a black car and it's kind of hard to see, but it's loud. Don't
that was a,
hit Nacho. Just don't hit Nacho.
oh don't
Yeah,
Don't
don't hit the
hit Nacho.
Driftos. Doritos, Driftos.
Don't hit Nacho.
Maybe
or
nachos.
or
better.
more importantly, the Mazda, the white one.
The white one, yeah.
Chrissy will
Oh.
get
Oh,
more mad.
I have I want to recall a part of the weekend that made me laugh so hard I was falling over. When Jeff was moving and backing up. This is the Brap video. You will notice if you happen to notice that he's very low. Like his face comes up to like eye level at the door, and he didn't have a chair. He didn't have a seat. I tried to give him a Tidy Cat plastic container so he could sit on that, but that was too tall, so he couldn't get in the car. So he decided to sit on the ground. I just told him this is what you have to deal with. So it made me recall the time in the solstice when we used to have our old solstice when we had the WAP. The seat is very low, and that's how I felt, is that you couldn't see anything. So fortunately, he didn't have to see anything because all he was moving himself.
Like
Oh,
out of
Grandma
the-
Moses driving thing.
Yep. Fortunately, you didn't have to go very far, just move from one side to the other. But I thought that was very funny.
Video on our Instagram.
Hear the brap.
Hear the Brap. Embrace the Brap.
But that's why he looks so small in the car, because there's no seat. So just
Yep.
saying. Yep.
So much brap.
So much.
So
Brad.
much.
Cool.
Cool.
All right. What else do we have to say?
It was a good
Let's-
weekend. Good
How
productive
bad can
weekend.
it be?
How
There we
bad
go.
can it be?
I think
Oh,
it's,
well, don't say that.
We haven't properly introduced the next section in a while. I think it's time for us to do this.
Just Yep.
Yay! Oh, it's like old times. All right, we're going to talk about a video that was on the internet. On I know I saw it on Facebook, but there is a lovely lady that I follow, or a couple of us follow, professional drifter Colette Davis, shared a terrifying video of her drift Corvette catch fire on track. And here's some of the things she had to say, and we're going to jump around a little bit. She had a couple of things that she learned a lot from this situation, and hopes that they push off it pushes off some of you to understand why some things are so important for your build. Fire is no joke. They believe a fuel line came loose from the rail and that may have been leaking for some time. She shares four really good lessons about safety equipment and complacency. Again, here's what Colette says. So number one, she didn't have a fire suit on, and luckily was wearing some OMP racing gloves, which saved her hands. Drifting as a whole is very relaxed when it comes to safety gear, and oftentimes the debate is heat exhaustion or fire safety. I've learned my lesson here. We'll be adding a cooling system. Is that what she said?
Yeah, she's talking about putting in a cool shirt because she needs to start wearing a fire suit.
So there's times when we've been on track and haven't worn what is required. So at a recent track day, some folks were eyeballing our pantless Matt for his fire suit in the car. So number two, she said, I should have turned off the car faster, but I was too focused on trying to get the extinguisher ready. So this is a really good reminder to make sure that you are practicing your emergency procedures. Can you find your kill switch with your eyes closed? Engines run on gasoline, and in the event of fire, you should absolutely stop feeding it gasoline. Number three, she couldn't break the plastic tie on the fire extinguisher, which delayed from her being able to use the one that was in the car. In this video, it's pretty crazy. She tries to pick up the fire extinguisher that's actually in the car. She can't get it
front bolted
like
by
a
the front
handheld
seat.
one.
The
in front of
handheld
the
one in
passenger seat.
front of the passenger seat, tries very hard, stays in the car way too long trying to get it undone, and then jumps out of the car, probably with one hand because she has a fire extinguisher in her hand, and she is still trying to get this out of her, still try to undo it. So crazy. First off, don't do that. Making sure that there's somebody comes over and takes the fire extinguisher from her and puts it out on, puts the fire out with that. Making sure that, so this is for a note for us. How about, do you know where the flag stations are? Obviously you really should be looking at them all the time. But do you know where the fire extinguishers are? Some of our tracks, if not most of them, have the fire,
like the red markings on
red
on
or
the
orange
Armco.
on the Armco. Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
I think every fire station has at least a small one, but the
Every flag station
the
has a-
orange the orange marks at the gaps in the wall have apparently more. At least at pit race they were telling us about that.
Right. So that's why we knew about it. But yeah, of course, if something like this happens, stop immediately. But if you can be closer to a flag station, they're actually going to be able to help you. And lastly, she didn't have a fire suppression system in the car. She's going to install one. It's not required for the series that she competes in, but she would have, it wouldn't have stopped the fire completely, but it absolutely would have helped. But I think it's mandatory in just about all of our series now. And if it's not, get one. It's absolutely worth it. Make sure you pull the pin. Make sure you know where the pole is near the driver's seat, and there should be one that's reachable from outside the car, I believe. Correct.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And I think that's in all
if done series. Correctly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you have multiple cars, try to be consistent about it. So no matter which car you're in,
that would be
great.
Yes. So really make sure that you have that all set up, and don't cheap out on it, and really think about where you put those the nozzles to be able to make sure you're actually putting the fire out where the fire might be coming from. So it's in the front and near your fuel system, making sure that they're all good. But this
one pointed at the driver.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Yes, I was saying stop the fire, but also being putting it at you. Fire's bad. Go check out this video. It's Colette Davis. And she's fine. She got out of the car. She's going to compete again, I'm sure. But unfortunately, she just started. I think this is her first or second time out with this car that she just rebuilt. So really unfortunate to see that car pretty burn up. Not sure what's going to happen with it, but we always want to learn from situations that have fire, that have anything that deals with a car, somebody racing, and fire happens. So listen up, make it happen.
Fire's bad, kids. Don't burn.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm surprised to see that they're like this is normal for them. They're out running in an active motorsports event with multiple cars with a lot of contact that happens, and she's wearing Chuck Taylors and
yoga pants.
flexi capris and no fire system, and that's what they
Okay.
do.
That's
Yeah.
okay. A helmet with a GoPro on it. So that's how we get to see the video up close and personal, and learn from her. Don't try to take your fire extinguisher out of the car to go put your own fire out.
Yeah, it's surprising that there is that much cage required, but not a fire suit. You know what I mean?
It's a maturing form of motorsports, and a lot of safety rules are typically reactionary.
Yeah.
Our chosen sport, we've been very lucky because as we're coming at this from an amateur, they can look ahead and start looking at speeds and lap times and go, this is about the time when this professional series started having these issues. We're going to institute this piece of mandatory safety equipment. So, but you and I were talking about the donk drag races last year.
Oh yeah.
They're like, oh crap, we're going really fast. If we're not careful, we're going to die. Let's start doing something smart.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna bag on drifters. Again, they are developing their competition, and I think most of them want the sport to stay safe.
Well,
yeah, that video definitely made me say, like, why were we ever with a handheld bottle?
Yeah.
A handheld fire bottle is not going to do anything to save you.
I think that's only to guarantee that there are that
is
many
a
fire
bottle.
bottles in the paddock, so that even if your car is not on fire, if you're people next to you, there's at least guarantees everyone has a bottle somewhere.
That's true. I could pull over and help somebody else,
Sure.
but that bottle wasn't going to help me put out my car.
I feel like,
Yeah.
I guess, but I'd rather have one on the side of the road by the time I unplug mine in my car, run over to the other car, figure out how to take my gloves off. Like what? I'm not going to be able to do that very quickly. I'd rather have the guy outside already.
Mhm. That's why we have fire systems in our
I mean,
cars.
I know, but
Yeah, and again, this is no shot on Colette Davis.
oh
This
no,
is what
No,
we're
no.
talking about is the sport of drifting. Is she D1?
I don't.
I think she's
D1
both.
and then Formula Drift is the other the two big.
I think she
it's
runs, and then
D1.
she does grid life as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, drifting. Get to it. Fire systems are not expensive.
and actually, if y'all get
Cars
into it,
are.
they'll get even cheaper.
Yeah.
Which is the advantage of us having to use them. So now you guys can work that.
That was a hell of a built car. That was many tens of thousands of dollars of building.
and
protect-
thousands and
Hours and
thousands of hours.
Hours and
Protect it with a
hours.
$400 fire system.
Yeah.
You know.
Mhm.
All right, so that horse
There
dead.
you go.
Moving
Done.
on.
Gone.
Do
Next
it.
show promo. What are we doing next week?
I don't know. Figure it out.
Yeah.
Do
Oh, yeah. It's a podcast.
it'll-
we've done,
it'll be
we've done this
decent.
like 250 times. How hard can it be?
not that many times, but almost.
240.
Almost.
Whatever.
4.
Whatever. So
Whatever.
Yep.
I will wrap it up this way by saying thank you for downloading us. We hope you enjoyed this week's edition of Ever on Racers. We also hope you'll join us in the world of driving, racing, and building because everyone can be a racer, even you. If you enjoyed this podcast, subscribe. It's totally free. Then go to iTunes and give us a 5-star rating. If you're watching on the YouTube, hit us up in the doodly-doo right down there. We'll talk all about what you say. If you have any questions or show ideas, drop a comment on our Facebook page, Everyone Racers, or email us at everyone.racers@gmail.com. You can still text us, 484-243-0455. Find us on Instagram or Twitter at everyone.racers, YouTube, Facebook. We're everywhere. We're even on Reddit /E1R. Thanks
Does
again,
anyone
and until...
care?
I don't know. Thanks again, and until next week, keep the shiny side up. Unless it's all shiny because you're some Formula Drifter, then just keep that fire bottle close.